Urban League is where I want to be in this moment
Mhm.
because you know building bridges between races is very much a part of what the civil rights movement is. Certainly
Mhm.
fighting for the rights of Black people, but coming together with like-minded people, which is one of it's profoundly um, jarring it has been that this
Mm.
shiny bright light has revealed that we got we're number one in Georgia for business, but we're practically number one for poverty.
Yeah.
How do we work together
Right.
to lift the lives of people, Black, white, brown, urban, rural?
Right.
So it's an opportunity. I think it's sometimes you have to hit these
Mhm.
milestones to jar people. And what was the most beautiful moment of this past year for me is seeing all races come together to to really state clearly Black Lives Matter. And the fact that Black Lives Matter does not mean that white lives don't matter.
Right.
Doesn't mean that Hispanic lives don't matter.
Right.
All lives matter.
Hello, everyone. John Fenton here, the CEO Sensei, and I am so honored to have my guest today, Nancy Flake Johnson, the president and CEO of the Urban League of Atlanta. Hey, Nancy.
Hey, how are you, John?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Thanks
And
for
20
inviting me.
Oh yeah, my pleasure. 2021, we've known each other, gosh, I guess about 11 years or so in the Leadership Atlanta together, and class of 2010, the best class ever, right?
The best class ever.
There you go. And Nancy, I'm just so honored to have you today. And you've really been a great light and a great leader leading the Urban League in Atlanta. And I'd love for you to just share a little bit about what does the Urban League do? What's the mission of the Urban League?
So the mission of the Urban League is that we are a person-to-person organization that supports the economic advancement of African Americans, and we do that through education, coaching, and we just really want people to live a better life. And so we do that through uh, five key areas: workforce development, career pathways, helping people earn more, entrepreneurship, which that's what drives our economy and
Mhm.
creates jobs. Home ownership, access to affordable housing, building wealth, teaching people about how to manage your money, how to make it grow. Youth and young adults are a passion of ours, in school, out of school. We happen to focus on older youth, 14 to 24, and then civic engagement and social justice. Those are our big pillars. We're a civil rights organization. We're 100 years old, John.
Wow.
We're the
Wow.
Urban League of Greater Atlanta. We started out as the Atlanta Urban League,
Mhm.
and now we've grown to the region and maybe one day North Georgia. And we have one counterpart in Columbus, Georgia. We're
Awesome.
one of 88 affiliates across the country.
Great. Is there a national headquarters for Urban League?
Yes, exactly. There's a national headquarters in New York City,
Mm.
and our national leader is Mark Morial, who is the former mayor of New Orleans.
Mm.
He's an attorney, a civil rights leader. He's been our leader now, uh, going toward over 15 years. And
Wow.
I've been with the Urban League of Greater Atlanta since 2008. And I say there's one thing that former president or President Barack Obama and I have in common.
Mm.
We both became presidents in 2008 in the midst of the worst, one of the worst
Yeah.
economic uh, downfalls of our
Yeah.
country. So it was fun taking over a
Yeah.
nonprofit in the middle.
Oh, I know. Well, now we're facing an even another significant crisis still,
For
right?
certain, which makes our work even more important.
Yeah. But comparing that situation and the last Great Recession, we called it, right?
The Great Recession, of course.
And comparing it to now, and it's so different now, it feels, because it's not just economic, right?
That's right. It's,
Um,
there, we at least had the freedoms of, you know, continuing to operate. I mean, it was really it began with the housing sector, but this
Hmm.
affected everything.
Right.
And
Right.
so suddenly it was
Right.
boom. Of course, 2008 came up on us too, but
Hmm.
it's been different. And I just say our generation has, when we look back on these times, we're going to have a list as long as our arms of, um, you know, just cataclysmic events, things that were
Right.
profoundly impactful on our world and our country.
Multi levels too, multi different in different ways, right? I
Yes,
mean,
yes,
both in our country as well as around the world. And I think it's really an inflection point, I think, in our history, right? The history of mankind, right? That which way do we go and what do we do and how do we come through this? And, one of the things I love to share and talk with CEOs and business leaders and leaders, presidents and CEOs like yourself is about, is there a moment in your life or a moment in time where you came through a crisis, a personal crisis or another crisis that you thought maybe at the beginning you weren't sure how you're going to get through it, but somehow you got through it. Somehow you survived it and you thrived, and it really set the tone for you for future success in your life. Is there something like that in your life that happened for you?
well, what comes to mind really is what I just mentioned. When I came to
Mhm.
the Urban League, so this was later in my life, a lot of things along the way have,
Mhm.
impacted who I am and my experience. But taking over the Urban League was the first time that I had stepped into a role where the organization was in the midst of turmoil.
Mhm.
The economy was upside down.
Mhm.
Nonprofits depend on resources that are oftentimes driven by how well the economy is doing. And so to, um, come into a role and immediately have to start addressing a crisis, resources. Do we have enough to keep the doors open? It was really very close to that at the time. So, what I realized was I, I'm proud of the fact that I can say we're still here.
Mhm.
Number one, we got through that very challenging time. We've grown exponentially. We're almost four times bigger than we were then, and it was a rocky road at times, challenging. Being responsible um, at a bigger level for everything.
Mhm.
And prior to that, I'd had jobs,
Mhm.
and I had been right immediately before. I had been a very small entrepreneur. I'm a CPA by training, and I had my own accounting practice. And I could control things. I didn't have but a
Mhm.
few employees, and it was I didn't have the responsibility and the weight of now 40 people's lives
Yeah.
depend on what I do as a leader in terms of making sure we do the work, we do it well, and we take care of our folks. And at a time where we're overwhelmed,
Mm.
literally. I mean, we've always been overwhelmed,
Right. I mean,
but
what is it? What gave you the strength, or the what gave you the strength to move into that role, to take on that great responsibility of the lives of 40 people, not just yourself? What do you think it was that helped you to power through that, or to get through that, and lead the organization and grow it four times from when you came on
you know,
board?
a combination of things. When I started, there were 11 people,
Hmm.
and um, at that time, I was driven by the mission of the Urban League. So I had passion for the work of the organization. I did not expect it, to go from, being guaranteed a paycheck, comfortable knowing, hey, every 2 weeks I'm going to get a check, right?
Hmm.
No problem,
Hmm.
to, wow, in order for you to get a paycheck, you've got to raise dollars for everything else, and then you might get paid, right?
Right.
And it's not even your business per se. But I had a great board. I was well received by the all sectors of the community.
Mhm.
And I think the passion for the work, my
Mhm.
faith in God, there were many a time when, payrolls rolling around in those early days.
Mhm.
And I wasn't sure where it was going to come from. But guess what? It always came, just in the nick of time. And I moved into a space of not worrying about it. Just do the job,
Mhm.
put your heart in it.
Mhm.
And, and of course, use your brain, be strategic, work hard, all those things. But the faith and the passion for the mission, I think those are the two that pushed me through.
So do you think that experience in 2008 did it help prepare you for what you're going through now with your organization?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It gave me this confidence that um, I'm capable of turning a ship around, you know,
Mhm.
getting out of troubled waters,
Mhm.
you know, by um, by leading from my heart and also my brain. I'm grateful, really. I tell people all the time for my accounting and CPA background. I use those skills probably more than anything in navigating. Um, and but there was also what led me into this role is I was approaching the age of 50,
Mhm.
and that was a milestone that when I approached it, I realized, wow, if you live a long life, you're at least halfway through,
Right.
right? Yeah. And so I just said, what do I want the rest of my life to stand for? What do I want to do with it? And I had that small practice where I worked with nonprofits and small
Mhm.
businesses, and I loved that. But I wanted to do something bigger that would have more profound impact on the way African Americans are living and the way the world treats us. And
Mhm.
so the opportunity to lead the Urban League fell in my lap, and I just let it go. Led me to this role. So I guess this is where I'm supposed to be.
There you go. Well, it's so important, right? To really follow your passion and to throw yourself 100%. Don't live your life with one foot in and one foot out, right?
That's right.
Whatever it
There's a
is.
sacrifice to that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But yes, and you still have to balance. You still have to always prioritize your family
Mhm.
and make time for self so you can stay charged up. And
Yeah.
that's probably the hardest thing with the pandemic. I'm used to working really hard and then taking my breaks, working
Mhm.
hard,
Mhm.
taking my breaks. And, I've tried this staycation thing and it's not working really
It's not
well.
working, right. Well, I know you love to travel. I know
I
that.
do, I do. So that's what's been the toughest. I
Yeah.
can't go.
What's one place that you've traveled to that really stands out to you and as somewhere really special to you?
Oh my goodness, so many places. Just people ask me that, and it's so hard to come up with. But I'll tell you what was probably the most profound experience for me was I was at Howard University. I was in my late 20s, and I had the opportunity to go to an international women's conference in
Mhm.
Nairobi, Kenya.
Mhm.
And that was um, just, amazing. It was a trip with some unexpected twists and turns to it.
Mhm.
But I met some women. I met women from all over the world. I got exposed to so many cultures. Um, and I was a younger woman. I was really coming into my womanhood. So the impact at that particular time was, I think, profound, and was also inspiring for me.
What about it inspired you?
Well, actually, really seeing and through the experiences of the conference and just being in Nairobi itself, being in an underdeveloped country for the
Mhm.
first time.
Mhm.
We really take so much for granted here
Yes.
in the United
Mhm.
States. And so, it was just plus being an African American and having never visited Africa before, that was profoundly um, moving for me. It just there was a spiritual, emotional
Sure.
experience to that, and so it helped me grow.
So yeah, we're entering into Black History Month, and what can you share about Urban League? Obviously, 100 years in existence. I mean, the organization and in your own experience have seen a lot of change happen, and clearly, this past, I'll say, 12 months or so has really been there's been a huge spotlight shined on our relationship in our society with different cultures and African American culture or Black culture and others, right? And what can you share about all of that from your perspective?
Well, what it's put a big shiny light on, uh, really, there's so many disparities in our
Mhm,
country.
mhm,
And, capitalism and, um, you know, really bringing forward that we really have a tale of two countries,
mhm,
probably a tale of two worlds throughout the world, that there's the haves and the have nots.
mhm,
And from an African American perspective, um, think about it, 400 years of pretty steady, I mean, not pretty, steadfast oppression in
mhm,
between accomplishments.
mhm,
And so, you know, the shooting of unarmed African Americans struck me, has over the decades just been really one of the most profoundly hurtful, uh, unexplainable,
mhm,
difficult to navigate experiences, and that there would be that much hate for people who were oppressed all along, slavery,
mhm,
building the foundations of this nation, the
mhm,
railroads, the plantations, the products, getting, you know, and there being a system that hates you, that whether in the beginning it was straight out, lynchings and murder and the whole issue of shooting unarmed black people really stems from uh, slavery, blacks
mhm,
fleeing save slavery
mhm,
and being pursued. Shooting a slave in the back was what you did,
mhm,
to send a message. And
mhm,
so it's just so profound that somebody in my lineage went through that for me
mhm,
to be here in this moment having this free conversation with you,
mhm,
yet in the midst of what feels like a turning back in time toward more
mhm.
divisiveness. But in this moment, let's make that affirmation because we've watched a man have the life sucked out of him with a
Mhm,
knee in his neck
mhm.
on television.
Right. Really bring,
And
yeah, really, right.
so,
It really brings it into your living room, right? It brings it home to you that this is some of the violence that's been going on, and it brings it right into our own homes. So I think it's hard for all of us to kind of watch that and to experience that, right? And
yeah,
but I think you're right. I think this is a defining moment, right,
it
for our
is, John.
society. It really is to find a way to move forward together.
Yes. And I believe we can. I believe we will. The fact that when I saw that image, not just here, but across the world,
Hmm.
um, people coming together, this is what it's about.
Hmm.
And so I'm a firm, I'm a definitely a diehard optimist. I love people, and so my last breath will be toward us all being able to coexist,
Right.
respect one another. Because really, if we could let go of the uh, passions, you just like
Mhm.
just settle and listen to one another. I think we find we got so much more in common
Absolutely.
in
More
terms of
more in
what we
common
want.
than we realize, really.
And isn't it interesting? This is what's interesting to me, and this has been just brought to the surface with 2020 and moving into 2021 is that the uh, forefathers of this country had to be, in my opinion, guided by God, because they laid the foundation by saying it, doing it right, with all of the history of strife and slavery and all those things. They purposely put in there, all men are created equal. It didn't say except slaves, except women,
Yeah.
they got it right. And we're still standing on that, barely, but we're still trying to stand on that today. If for all the patriots out there, reread the Constitution,
Right.
right?
Right.
The Bill of Rights.
Right. It's I heard recently, it's sort of like, we have this imperfect, union, right? Of trying to get, it's always a process, I think, of trying to get better and trying to improve. And I think like you said, our founding fathers had this foresight, even though some of them were slave owners, right? But they had this
Yeah.
foresight, right? For an ideal. And I think it's the ideal, the promise of what our country could be and what it stands for to many, many people. And it's going to take a lot of effort and work on both sides, or all sides, right, around this conversation. But it needs to, I think it's time that we need to have a real conversation, put aside, like you said, show respect, and put aside the history
The fears, as you
fear,
said.
right? So much fear, right? A lot of fear.
Yes. And a lot of unfounded fear that we could, I just always have believed that communication is the way to reconciliation. We may never exactly agree on something, but if we can have the civility, that's what's gone. That's what's so frightening. We can just have
Right.
civility.
Right.
Treat people the way you want to be treated,
Exactly.
period. If we could just
Right.
embrace
We learned that a long time ago, didn't we?
Yeah, and this is everyone.
Right.
And so, but got to fight for what you believe. You got to. I agree about fighting for what you believe in, but there's a way to fight.
Mhm.
I fight every day in what I do, but I don't call people out of the names, and I don't try to attack them in the process if they don't agree with me and
Demonize,
things
right.
like that. So let's. And Urban League was founded. We're an interracial movement.
Mm.
We were actually founded by a group of interracial people in New York City.
Awesome.
And the leaders were Ruth Baldwin Standish,
Mhm.
Standish Baldwin, oh, I get that mixed up. But she was the widow of a shipping magnate, a Caucasian woman who was wealthy, who cared about the issues affecting Black people. And she paired up with an African-American man. I believe he was the first to graduate from Harvard, and they had the same vision and views. They found each other. Mark calls them the original odd couple. Mark Morial, our president, Nancy Flake.
There you go.
And so anyway, but that shows we can work together.
Well, Nancy, a couple of final thoughts. Again, thank you so much for being with me today. And what advice would you give to young entrepreneurs or young people in business or whatever walk of life? What advice would you give them to help them move them forward in their lives and to be successful in their lives?
I think a couple of things. One is, follow your passion. What I'm learning from our young entrepreneurs, our millennials and all the other Gen Xers and all of
Yeah.
what I love about them is they're courageous. They don't want to really embrace learning from more senior influencers in your world, from family to mentors to we want to support you and to be respectful in that and really focus on serving your customer.
That's awesome.
That's really what should drive any entrepreneur's work.
So I'm hearing from you, what I've gotten from you today, what I've learned from you today is respect is important, faith is important, and following your passion is so important.
Yes, for
Right?
Sure.
Absolutely.
That makes it easy to go to work every day.
Yeah, of course, it's great. And Nancy, how can people reach out to you if they want to contribute to Urban League, or how? I assume you take donations and other sources of funding.
Oh, for sure.
Tell me, how can people reach out to you or connect with you to learn more about Urban League or anything that you can do to help them?
Sure, I'd love people to reach out to me. So if you visit our website, www.ulgatl.org, we operate as a financial empowerment center, and you
Mhm.
have two ways to give to our general operations or to help us maintain this emergency assistance fund. That is what has been the most profound thing is, you know, Fulton County eviction court put my business phone and my name in about 4,000 eviction notices.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
So I get calls from people every day. And so
Mhm.
just know things are very challenging now and we
Mhm.
need your support. So we will appreciate it and you can trust us.
And so there it is, folks. Nancy Flake Johnson, President and CEO of the Urban League of Atlanta. You can go to their website. You'll find all the information on the Chiron below and in the show notes. And it's been a pleasure, Nancy, to have you on with me today.
Thank you so much, John. All the best to you. Let's stay in good touch.
Absolutely. Take care. Have a great day.